morning. We're going to call our meeting to order this morning. I would ask if you have cell phones to please turn them off at this time, and we certainly welcome you to our meeting. We will stand and have pledge of allegiance by Councilmember Joyce and prayer by Councilmember Reed.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you would like to pray with us this morning, would you please remain standing? Dear God of us all, we thank you for this day, a day that you have made, a day that we shall all rejoice and be glad in. We ask you to come into this place, God, and touch this agenda that has been set before us and allow us to make some decisions based on the behalf of the city of Madison. Amen.
Amen. Our meeting this morning consists of planning for the American Rescue Plan, that money that has been handed down to our city. We know that our city will receive 1.2 million, City Manager Carey, 1.2 million. And we're here to just talk about how this money will be spent in our city. No decision will be made this morning. We have the public here to give us input. And of course, the final decision will be made by our city manager and the city council members. So our city met probably, I think, late last year with a group, Deep, what was the name of that group? Deep Copenhagen. And we went over some plans, and we just talked about a few things: affordable housing, better roads, diverse equity and inclusive initiatives, economic development, inclusive leadership, refresh of the downtown area, success planning, and workforce development. And we know this money can only be used for certain things in our city. A lot of people feel that this money can be used to help defray rent. I don't think we could use this money for that. There are certain I think people can apply to the government for rent, for help on their rent, utility bills as such. But I think we have certain guidelines, is that right, Mr. Manager, that this money can be spent. And first we're going to ask our city manager to give us the guideline of how this money can be spent, and then we will go from there.
I may have to ask the finance officer, because I'm not studied up yet, Mr. Mayor, on there are pretty broad categories as to how this, and Karen reminded me when the money has to be obligated and then when the money has to actually be spent.
The funds have to be spent by December 31st, 2024. And then I think the obligation is
It's
at
in
least a
20
year before.
It's in 2022 when you have to actually decide and obligate all the money, give you plenty of time to spend it, because if you're doing projects that require any kind of planning or any kind of professional work, then you don't have those on the shelf. So it takes some time, and I think the plan takes that, contemplates that, and takes that into consideration. I know that the federal money are always hoops to jump through, but they've tried to make this as simple as they possibly can. I think the first round where we received some funding was fairly straightforward. We had some other money for the airport that we've gotten. Basically, what they said is they're helping any government, they're helping any form or any size government, they're helping all governments. So cities, largest cities to the smallest cities are getting something. So we have an opportunity. 1.2 million, 1.3 million is a good bit of money for the city. And I think when the council talked about it, it was the desire to spend it, invest it, and leverage it on things that are going to pay back over the long term.
so much. I think what I'd probably like to do this morning, we have several members from our public here this morning, that we did invite the public to come. We have, I believe, the Boys and Girls Club here, members from the Boys and Girls Club here. I believe we have members from the Habitat Board here. And we also have staff members here. And we would just hear from each of those, and then we would come back and talk about it again. So if anybody from the public would like to come and make a statement, feel free to do so at this time.
Could I ask just one question?
Yes, sir.
Just to make sure I understand. So we currently have an identified bank account. Is it 750,000? Pretty close to it?
Roughly, a little more than half the money's been.
Okay, so we're expecting another,
Segregated account.
okay, and then one more check we're expecting. So well prior to the, I believe the plans need to go in at some point next year.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Are there any comments from the public this morning? So you're just here to listen, huh? Yes, ma'am. If you would come forward and please state your name and what organization that you represent.
And I'll remind everybody, especially with our masks on, we need to talk really close to the microphone.
Okay. So I speak very softly anyhow. My name is Pat Hodgetts, and I am the treasurer for the CVB board, and I'm here representing the CVB today. Jennifer couldn't be here, so I am here in her place. The CVB is interested in being able to have some of this money for two different things. One is we currently do a co-op with the city every year of $30,000 for out-of-market advertising. And we would like to increase that over the next 3 years to $60,000 for 22, 23, and 24. We would plan to do digital advertising, excuse me, so that it was very measurable. But it would be a way for us to increase our presence out in different parts of the country and hopefully pull more people in here for tourism. The other thing is we would like to see some of the money go to some of the attractions because some of them are in need of some repair, actually, both in the physical being and in the gardens that they have. And so, of course, our job is easier if the attractions are in better shape, so to speak. So those are the two things that the CVB is looking at as possibilities.
Okay. So when you say attractions, what are you referring to?
I'm sorry?
When you say attractions, what are you referring to?
Rose Cottage and, what's the other one?
The Historical Society.
Yeah, the Historical Society, the Cultural Center, places like that that are where tourists go to see what it's like here.
And the African American Museum and
Yeah,
Heritage
African-American.
Hall. And
Yeah. Now, obviously, it would take some research to figure out exactly what each one of those could need or could use, as far as possibly repainting on repainting on the outside, or some of them I know definitely need some work on their gardens. So it would be just, if we can attract the people here through the increased advertising money and then have something even better to show them, obviously that helps the whole city.
So let me ask you a question. When you advertise for the city of Madison, do you advertise for tourism? What do you advertise for them to come to Madison to see?
What do we advertise?
Mhm.
We advertise, we kind of more advertise and come and we go back in history. Obviously, big thing here in the city for forever has been advertising our history. But we're also trying to advertise outdoor sports and, bicycling and that sort of thing.
So Jennifer's a better one to tell you that than I am, but it's a lot of different things.
And I know that the CVB is interested lately in increasing their digital reach, I
Yeah,
guess.
we definitely
Is that part
are.
of the advertising increase?
Absolutely. In fact, that would be the major part of the increased advertising. We have now somebody now that works for us part-time that is basically working on that. We do a lot of blogging and Facebook and Instagram and all of those things, and we want to increase that.
And maybe at some point in time, we have a Main Street director, which advertises for us downtown.
Yeah, who works
And
with us a
We
lot.
have the CBB, so maybe at some point in time, that could be some collaboration.
Absolutely.
We could all both advertise for the city of Madison.
Yeah, we, that $30,000 co-op that we have now is a cooperative venture between the Main Street and the CVB. There's input from both sides for that, so it would be for them also.
Okay. Are there any questions for CBB? If not, thank you, Ms. Hodges.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Sharon McCullough, and I'm here as one of the representatives for the Madison Morgan Community Gardens. This is a group that's come together to help install a community garden that would be to provide food in an area that doesn't have close grocery stores for fresh fruits, vegetables. The garden spot is on 5th Street, and it was allotted to us through the city. It's hoping, the goals are to bring the community together, the broad community together, and intergenerational. The Boys and Girls Club will have a plot in this. Education is a goal for learning to raise vegetables and flowers, and we hope to build a pavilion that would have activities, offer space for the community to come together, to have educational opportunities also. Don't really know what else. Oh, I know the University of Georgia is one of their classes, their landscape classes, is taking this on as a project to help design the garden. And then the high school, some of their ag students will shadow some of these UGA students to be able to learn, kind of a citizen scientist program, be able to learn how to do this. And I don't know what else to tell you.
So are you proposing to build to build it on the garden spot where the garden's gonna be at, or will it be someplace different?
No, it's going to be there. There will be, it's a little less than an acre. Some parking has to be put in. The irrigation has to be put in. The first thing that has to happen, there's about 11 trees that have to come down. So as part of the fundraising committee, we're trying to raise money to take down the trees. We need about $8,000 for that. And then money to put in the raised beds, then money to put in the parking lot, the irrigation, to get it set up.
Okay, so will you be teaching people how to, freeze the vegetable? Will the garden be big enough for people to freeze and
Yes.
can and all that good stuff?
We hope to work through the Extension Service to help with food preparation, food preservation, the actual growing of the vegetables and flowers and pollinators and all that. And to again, work with the Boys and Girls Club. They would have a plot for free, the rest would be rented. And if there was a financial need there, we would work with that.
And Mr. Mayor, just sort of background, I mean, this was land that was, I believe, leased from DDA. DDA still owns it, I believe, Ed, and they've given a 5-year lease
Yes.
to this garden. they're off to a good fundraising start. They've got, I know Sally Fowler's also
Yeah.
involved with
She's the
Sharon.
president
and
of the
They've got
board.
money raised and a lot of work yet to do, but it's off to a good start. It's located right on Fifth Street, very near Bernie, near the, I think it's the Rose of Sharon.
It's right next to the Rose of Sharon
Rose of
Church.
Sharon.
We're trying to make contact with them to kind of see where their congregation is and using that building. And it could be an asset for them too, because we would be putting in parking that they would also be able to use.
Okay.
Do you, Mr. Mayor, may I?
Sure.
Have you already had someone to come over to do site for the pavilion? Do you have any cost for everything that you're speaking of? Do you have,
Yes, there is a proposed budget all planned out. It's on my phone if you need to see it. I don't have it printed out, but
Right.
yes, there is a proposed budget for the whole
Okay.
thing, yes.
Okay.
We have a board, we have committees like fundraising, and then the site development committee, and there's a large group of people, a very diverse group of people working on it.
So do you know what you finished, Councilmember Reed?
I am, I had emails from Ms. Fowler I was trying to look at to get some numbers. I actually have walked around in my district some to try to get some of the, my constituents to come over, and they're excited about it. So thank you for what you're doing.
Good. If you are interested in checking on it, if you drive by it, there are 2 planters and an information thing where you can pull information for it, right there.
It is a great location, and I
It
think it would be in proximity too for the Boys and Girls Club to walk there in case they needed to, so that's great. So do you have a proposed budget?
It's
Yes.
30,000. I'm
Yes.
looking at the email right now.
Yes, thank you.
The email now, Mr. Mayor, may I?
Sure.
So the email that I have from Ms. Fowler, because we've been going back and forth for a while, the garden has already collected over $8,000 in donations and have recently received $2,500 more dollars in pledges, but the total complete of the project is over $30,000.
I hadn't planned on being the person
okay.
to tell you this, so I'm
That's
not
okay.
very prepared with that, but thank you for having that in front of me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here.
Uh-huh.
But that's not for the proposed building, that's just for the garden, removing
the
the
garden.
trees, I would assume.
The $30,000 is like the total thing.
For the building and all?
I think that includes.
She said total funds will be required to complete our project. She said 30,000.
We're looking for we have some in-kind donations too, and when they take the trees down, they're going to grind the stumps, they're going to mulch it, so then we'll have the mulch to use in the pathways of the garden. So it's kind of that's a cost that we will have right there. So.
Okay.
And I think they have set up incorporated as a 501c3
Yes.
or
Yes.
whatever the
We're in that
designation
process.
is.
It's kind of yes,
Yes.
we're
Okay.
moving towards that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr.
You're welcome.
McCullough.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
We have words for you. First of all, I'd like to thank the city. I guess everybody saw the newspaper where we got a $750,000 community block grant.
If you would just state your name and who you're representing, please.
David Burlock, and I'm here for the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay.
But I want to thank the city of Monica for all the work on getting that community block grant developed. Excited about that area in general. We've talked to the Garden Club about their potential. We talked to them originally about putting it on property there, but with the future construction, we need that area where the garden's going to be to stage all the construction work that's going to go on. And so maybe once that's finished, we can move, we can continue expanding that community garden into part of the Boys and Girls Club, so it's right there in our backyard. But as you know, with the $750,000, we're going to renovate the back of the gym, build a new building in between the gym and the current technology, which will be a new Boys and Girls Club center. But in addition to that, we're going to raise probably another $1 million to complete the whole project. So we've got a $750,000 grant. And so we're looking at spending another $1 million in that area to get that, top class Boys and Girls Club. So, it's where kids, when they get out of school, they don't have anywhere to go. That's going to be the place that we want them to go to, because we truly believe that, every child has an opportunity to develop into a good citizen a good person, and our mission is to make sure that those kids have a place to go and an opportunity to grow and learn.
Okay. So, even though you've received this $750,000 grant money, what are you asking the city to do?
Well,
I hear
we're not, right now, we're not asking, we're just giving you guys the input, which is, this is what this meeting was for. So we're not coming to say, hey, we need another $1 million to finish this project. So we're just saying, we want you guys to consider the Boys and Girls Club and, what we're doing there. So anything you guys can do to help us out. In terms, I know we're working with we're getting ready to work with the community college over there, Georgia Military College. They've got some cadets that want us to help put a biking trail in. We went to Katie, you guys, I guess a year ago about putting that biking trail in. And they've got cadets that want to help us to build that. So, there's a lot of things we're doing in that area to make it attractive for youth of our center. And I'm going to let Mr. Mackey talk here also. Go ahead, Mr. Mackey.
I'm the bodyguard, so.
I don't think you can handle that, Bobby.
Always had to lower a microphone.
Let's move the whole thing.
Okay.
There you go.
Sounds good. Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Council. Bob Mackey, Boys and Girls Club. I think in addition, one of the things that I want to bring to the attention of the council is that we have history here with our Boys and Girls Club. Madison Morgan is the only Boys and Girls Club that we know of to sit on the college campus. And what that does, it creates a pipeline from the classroom to the club to college. And we know right now we have a shortage. There's a shortage of workers everywhere. We have teenagers, teens that some who may want to work, others that they don't know how to work. So we have opportunities through WIOA, through Boys and Girls Clubs of America, that will pay Boys and Girls Clubs to put kids to work. That way companies don't incur the cost of teens actually working. We can get the kids to the club, but transportation of getting them to their job is one thing we want to assist with. So when the kids arrive to the club, they'll be able to be bussed up and shipped out to different jobs and have an opportunity. So that's going to help the local economy, but it also provides skills. We always look at high income skills, low income skills, but the most important skill that we can have right now is to give kids the opportunity to gain, different skills. For the upcoming 2022, we're going to lift our restriction for COVID. And we're looking to serve more kids more often. We're going to go from where we are currently to over 100 plus kids, and we're not looking to pass down that cost. We want all 100 plus to be able to arrive at our facilities, and that we give parents and whomever guardians an opportunity to pay the minimum, and that every kid for the summer, their fee would be covered. So if we look at 100 kids, our summer fee is $100, that brings us up to a total of $10,000 that we would seek to provide that service for the summer. And that does a lot of things for kids when you look at just the no supervision time, but also creating additional opportunities during the summertime. So we do have a lot of things, and the sweat equity that the kids have placed into the current facility of making it their own has been huge for them, and it's their stake in the game, as we call it. But for 2022, we are looking for about $10,000 to help cover those membership fees that go to the local club that will provide summer and after-school programs for over 100 kids for 2022.
Mr. Mackey, do you know that if the children in the Boys and Girls Club, probably, I'm sure you have all ages, 12th grade, 11th grade, but have they expressed an interest with the college campus being there where they are, just moving into the college, or what's been their opinion on that?
So we've already done tons of opportunity joint ventures with GMC. For the summer, even though we were during COVID, we call no field trips across the organization. Well, that's not a field trip for us because we're on the same campus. So the kids were able to partner, and GMC hosted a college tour on site, and the kids took mock classes during the actual day, and that was incredible. So it's becoming more and more intertwined, and that becomes, as I always say, it's the expectation of moving forward, and that's what we're creating. So the kids are excited, parents are excited, but I think more importantly, it's the vision that we're able to give the kids that right here next to the club is a college you can attend in the county you're from, and continue to blossom at that point. So the excitement is there, and being one of the only clubs on a college campus is just amazing, because we create something that hopefully will become the model as we move forward across the nation with Boys and Girls Clubs and communities.
Okay. So could I ask you to do this along with the community garden and I think just community garden, the CBB. Could I ask you guys to do this? No decision will be made today. We probably won't make any decisions until beginning of 2022 when the money can really start being spent. But I would just encourage each of you to send a proposal to us, you know. Not to say you will or will not be funded, you know, but just send each of you just send the city a proposal on the American Rescue Plan. Let's just see where we are, and then we can see what we could actually do. And thank you so much for your input. Yes,
Yeah, I did have
Councilmember Joyce.
am I correct? I believe correct me if I'm wrong in this, but I believe the 750 that Planning Department and Monica were able to obtain, that needs matching money. Am I correct in that? I mean, that's not just a flat out grant. You need to raise somehow beyond that.
Yes, sir. So Boys and Girls Club, there's a financial, as they consider the rest of the remaining of the total project. So 750, there are pieces of any kind that had to be accounted for and matched as well. But there's a remaining balance that's the responsibility of Boys and Girls Clubs to raise that amount.
Okay. And that's for 2 building renovations and the construction of a 3rd building. Have I got that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Sure.
So, Mr. Mackey, you was talking about busing the kids out to jobs. So are you looking for a bus? I know you have a van right now, am I correct?
We actually have two minibuses.
Okay.
But I will let you keep talking and not talk
I was wondering if you was looking to purchase a bus instead of just having 2 vans. And do you have any contracts with jobs currently for the kids to go to? Because I would love, as of now, my salon, I'm no longer working, but I have it as a hub, so I'm employing younger people to do shampooing, to clean, do different things. So I was wondering, do you have a contract with different jobs, with different places that the kids can go to?
Thank you for your questions. I'll address the first question,
Okay.
which the larger school bus, as we know, requires CDL. We try to keep the under 12 passenger because of the weight limit, and we are able to allow full-time and part-time staff to operate without the CDL because of the logistics behind it. They don't require that. And finding drivers right now is very difficult. And we don't want to pull from the current educational system with creating that competition of drivers for the afternoon. But it is our hope that we continue the minibus model to provide more opportunities for that. The second hand is we partnered with FarmView with allowing kids for the evening or evening times to either start out working. And what we do with this is we're going to do the orientation at the club. So instead of going to FarmView for the orientation, now we're creating a bridge back into the community to where FarmView would come back into the club to provide the orientation and whatnot. So it gets an opportunity for FarmView to see, you know, the kids in their setting, but also to provide the kids in the professional setting as well. We feel that relationships are the heart of anything we do, and I think that's going to help sustain long-term employees for that as well. We've also talked to a few law offices. We're in the plan of hopefully talking to the law enforcement end for those who want to take up either law enforcement or EMT which we have some 18-year-olds, and you can do the ride along being 18 and start with the actual schooling of EMT at 17 at that time. So there are a few opportunities that we're able to do as well. And we are considered Boys and Girls Clubs. We're considered early childhood. So we also employ kids directly at the Boys and Girls Clubs too. But one of the things about the club, kids enjoy coming to the club, so creating that work-life balance for a teen, because they want to engage as well at the club, but also they're at work as well. So it's a good opportunity for them to learn balance when it comes to responsibilities. But we are looking for more opportunities that we can explore for those who may want to partner with Boys and Girls Clubs in that venture.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mackey, thank you. David, thank you so much. Sure.
Mr. Mayor, you better watch out, Babs Johnson.
I'm going to be on my best behavior. Mr.
better.
Mayor?
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Babs Johnston. I am just representing kind of myself and my husband. I'm a big part of the Boys and Girls Club and also First Readers. But my concern throughout COVID has been that the children who were most affected by not being able to have up close and personal school was a lack of ability to have their own computer and to have internet service in their home. And I have no idea the ramifications for this, but Harm and I lived in the country for the first 20 years we lived here, and our internet service was horrendous. I realize in the city there's not that problem, but there are children who could take advantage of a good internet service if they had their own laptop, state-of-the-art laptop. I would imagine that the schools provide these on a checkout basis, but I just feel like if there were some way to have a measure that would deem which children would qualify to have a computer and assistance with internet. That's part of the problem. As those of you who know me for a long time know, I mentored 15 children. And one of the biggest problems with the kids that I mentored is that they might have a computer, but their parents didn't have the money to continue the internet service. So what good is a beautiful laptop if you can't get the internet? So I have go on.
Are you talking about these kids that did they live in the city or did they live in the county? Or are you saying that they couldn't afford to pay their utility bill to keep the internet service going?
Well, most of the children that I mentored lived out in the county.
Okay.
But even if I had children that lived in the city, which I did from time to time, they have extended families that lived in the city. There would be times when they would have internet service for, say, 2 months, and then I'd say, how's everything going? And the mom would say, well, we had to drop that. We couldn't afford the internet service. And that's a huge issue. I realize that, and it's got many tentacles. But I feel like it's something that needs to be looked into, and I feel like to strengthen the kids that really need the internet the most, we just ought to be providing state-of-the-art laptop and also assistance for internet.
I do know the county is working on broadband
Yes.
through the money they're receiving. So hopefully after that, all the kids in the county would have, hopefully,
Well,
internet
it's one
services.
thing to have access, it's another thing to have the ability to continue to pay for it. And to me, that's essential for kids who need to be on the computer every night doing something.
Does your facility have good internet service there at Pearl Street, the school?
The
The Boys and Girls Club itself?
Yes.
So you're talking about when kids go home?
Yes,
So
exactly.
even if we were to purchase them, a laptop is somewhat useless without internet access?
Exactly,
Do you
yeah.
have any solutions other than subsidizing individual families' fees for internet service?
You know, Eric, I really don't, except that I know that our teachers know which children need this, and they would be able to verify that this family needs that, and it would help them greatly to have that. We provided food for everybody, but, you know, food for the brain, there's a gap there. And I feel like the kids who suffered the most during the pandemic were the children who parents did not have access to continuous internet and that sort of thing.
Maybe I could ask David, I know we have a internet service in Town Park. I don't know what the range is, but it's more than just going to one spot. I mean, it does cover, is that a feasible model for different blocks?
I mean, out in the county?
Well, not out, I'm thinking in the city. Obviously, the county's going to have to figure out another
That's
plan.
a problem, because he has AT&T and Spectrum that compete for internet service. Now, Mark has a hardwired access to the internet, but then it's just thrown out by Wi-Fi for festivals and public use all the time. But that won't work out. Well, you're talking city specific. That would be, Wi-Fi in neighborhoods would not work. I mean, it would be on, it'd have to be on a different scale than what we do in Town Park. So we utilize probably half a dozen antennas down there.
So it's modems that send it out just to...
And, right, and boosters or whatever else, I think people have to tell you exactly what happens. Works okay, for public access, for festivals and whatnot.
So I have no solution. I just know that there's a gap, and if we can provide free lunches for kids, we ought to be able to provide free internet service for kids. The kids who need the internet.
Thank you so much, Ms. Johnson. Appreciate your input.
Thank you, guys.
So I have a question for you, Mr. Mackey. The students in the Boys and Girls Club, do all of them have computers? Do they complain about they don't have internet services, or?
There is what we consider the digital divide, and some is with, mostly is, I do apologize, it is with thought you being extra nice for me there. It is with creating an opportunity for kids to access. So even having access, then you would have the problem if you have 3, more kids in the home of having individual access to, their studies or educational opportunities. And then you may have some who just can't afford, enough internet, basically. The packages that come with the services that are offered are very expensive. So when you look at bandwidth, increasing bandwidth for a household, there's an expense to that. So we see it on all sides. Some kids say, hey, I can't access this. We do what we consider engineer for the week with Facebook. And some of those go extend from the club to their household, and we have to provide MiFis for those. And then there are others we have to provide tablets or laptops for. From there, because most of the time the computer in the household is normally a smartphone, and that is not how we want to teach our kids to conduct business or educational goals setting for the future for there.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public?
My name is Carol Childs, and I'm here as a resident of Madison. I used to live in Sherwood, Oregon, and started thinking about their area downtown. It's very similar in a way to Madison. It's a small village. And as a former teacher, I looked at the area where the people seemed to congregate. This seemed to be, actually, it was a water area for children. I, as a grandparent, would bring my grandkids down there they would have a wonderful time. They had like an amphitheater. It had, it was about 20 by, went around like a U, and there were seats, one higher than the other. And the kids would sit around, and then in the center of the area was this water area where they had spouts of water, and occasionally some big spout came up and then it stopped, and another one over here and another one over here, various levels, some of them just a little bit. And people really liked it. No dogs were allowed, but also in the area, they used it for a farmer's market. There was concrete. They would use it for other things too, not just a farmer's market. But it seemed to be a very popular area. I am so sorry I have not figured out, I haven't called the city of Sherwood to say how much this was, but I think the main budget would be for the electronics, and they had a big box, I do remember, and it was all programmed. So at certain times, they could program it whatever day they wanted the water to come on. But then these two gentlemen gave me an idea. I used to teach special ed too, and there were handicapped children there. And this was a great idea. I thought, well, the young people, maybe from the Boys and Girls Club, if something like this for families would be able to brought in to their area, I have no idea in the city of Madison where this is going to be, but this is just an idea, and I would be glad to work with the city of Sherwood. I have a son who lives there right now, and I would be glad to work with the city of Sherwood and maybe coordinate this, because I enjoyed it when I lived there. I would go get my grandkids and bring them over there, and the young people, they loved it. So that's all I have to say on that. But I think it could be coordinated with some other groups in town where it would bring families in here. It would bring the community together. It would bring people from other areas in here, because people who live in Rutledge don't have this. People who live, now I don't know about Athens or Watkinsville or Greensboro or whatever. They may say, boy, look what's going on here. We've got a place for the children, and it's a good thing. So that's all I have. I'm sorry I'm not more organized as far as I can't give you the budget, but I could certainly get that information. Okay?
Ms. Childs, thank you so much for that. I think we've had a couple of council members to talk about that. Councilmember Reed and Councilmember Hodges has brought this to the city attention as well. So we thank you. Councilmember Reed, you may have some comments or input.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Childs, for your information. We went to training back in August, and it's called a splash pad. I've also sent some information to our city planner, Ms. Monica Callahan. It's an amphitheater, like you just said, and I sent information. I was looking for it as you were speaking. I don't remember the numbers. Greensboro actually just got one. So I definitely would like that in our city. So it's a splash pad with a little small amphitheater. Monica, can you speak a little bit to it? Thank you, Monica.
Sure. So this is something that Councilmember Reed asked us to check into more than a year ago. So we've been putting budget numbers together and looking at vendors. So I can tell you that right now we've been looking at it for the potentially as an option for the water feature that the Green Space Board wanted to see in each park, so that it would be in the neighborhood parks. That would put it within a 5-minute walk of every home in Madison. And so we're looking at 4 small mini splash pads. And they run about $60,000 per splash pad. And so the current model is to look at someone a community booster who might pay half, and then the city putting in half for each splash pad for those 4 parks. So that's just something we've been working on. We don't have the funding or the budget for it yet, and I'm not making a request this morning. I'm just letting you know that's where we are.
Thank you.
And, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Childs is one of my constituents, and I just want to thank her for her frequent interest in improving Madison. You've got a lot of energy, and your ideas are always welcome, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Childs.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Ms.
your comment.
Childs.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, is there anyone else from the public? And of course, I know we will have time to talk to our staff, but just for the record, we have our Main Street Director here. Is there anything that you would like to see, Main Street Director?
Karen, that's you. That's you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning. I'm representing the Main Street this morning, but very happy to see all of our community representatives here with your interest. Excited to see that perhaps as we have had previous conversations about what the funding could look like to do for our city, some enhancements in downtown, obviously, some things that will support tourism. Madison has a long-standing history of being a city of attraction, one that draws people from near and very far. So always looking at what ways we can do to enhance the beauty, the architecture, and to make Madison a destination again. I think, excuse me, COVID has impacted quite a few things, and we see travel just a little bit different than we did in the past. And so it would be to our benefit to take a look at what some other cities are doing to pivot and to make tourism an attraction again for their cities. We certainly want to see an increase in foot traffic in our city. And so anything that we can do to enhance the beauty, we already have so many wonderful assets here in our community. And so anything that we can do to support that in terms of beautification and enhancements are more than welcomed. And I'll entertain any questions you might have for me at this time.
Thank you, Karen. Appreciate
Yes, sir.
what do
Thank
for our
you.
city.
So do you need more money, Karen?
Yes, we can always benefit from additional funding to do that. So thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
May I ask a question of Bobby and David? Bobby, can you come up here again, please?
Yes, sir.
You know you can sell snow to an Eskimo. You know. When would the construction start? I know you're in your planning stages. What is the timeline in your mind? Just, I know it's hard to predict. When would you be through with full construction of the Boys and Girls Club? What's the plan?
The timeline, we're looking to get started around summer of 2022. And the completion, I think we projected it to be 12 months out from start.
So sometime in '23?
Yes, hopefully sooner, but all depends on a few additional opportunities that with the current facility. Yes, sir.
Okay. I was asking that for coordination with the gardens and all that. I was trying to figure out exactly how that would work. So that was my question, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bobby.
Yes, and if I could add, we are looking to bring upon the phases so that way we can still provide and open up opportunities. So instead of saying we're closing the entire facility for that duration, we're looking to start out either, as Mr. Burbach and I mentioned, it's easy to build up, faster than it is to tear down. So since we have that opening space that's going to conjoin the two buildings, we're going to go ahead and hopefully utilize that as a phase one, so that way it'll, be a lot faster.
Right.
And then the other two portions would continue as they go. So we'll be able to provide service a lot sooner than that 12 months, hopefully, but the completion would be of that.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Nice.
Mr. Mackey.
Nice.
I know we have, Monica, I think you was going to say something.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm real prepared this morning with my back of envelope. But David told me I had to show up if I wanted to ask for money, so, anyway, that was my teasing for the morning. Okay, so a couple of things. I know that most of our conversation has revolved around community development this morning, and all of these are wonderful and vital things, and I know that you know that I'm an advocate for those things. I want to talk about some other community development needs that we can't fund with general fund dollars, and so I want to talk about those a little bit because they impact actually some of the entities that are in this room, so I want to bring your attention to those as well. The first one is Boys and Girls Club has a permanent and ongoing problematic leak in the 1952 Ag Shop building. And so the Ag Shop building where they're currently located, that building is not scheduled to be renovated as part of the grant. They would like to continue to use that building to do coursework of, I'm speaking programmatically a little bit of beyond my skill set, but my understanding is their intention is to still use it, perhaps as a bike shop or teach skill sets of other types and whatever they intend to do with it. We have no use for that facility, so I just wanted to bring your attention to that. They have an ongoing leak that I was approached about 2 weeks ago that is problematic. They have to sandbag when it floods, and they have an ongoing roof leak that is problematic. Mr. Conrads doesn't ask for help often, but when he does, I pay attention. So he says that there is an ongoing problem there. So I think they need a new roof. I'm just going to bring that to your attention. And I'm going to circle all the way back around on that, but I want to talk about that. Then the next one is our Pearl Burney Alumni Association. They have been recently also, everybody in this room that's presenting to you today is a 501c3. Our Pearl Burney Alumni Association has gotten their certification as well. And I would like to advocate for them. They're not in the room today, but this is a big part of repurposing the middle school and preserving that legacy. And so they need probably a new roof on the portion that they're in. If you're not aware, they'll be occupying the portion of the building in front of the gym, and they need to bring it up to code and make sure it has a good bathroom in it, just a single one-holder. And they want to make sure that they have exhibits. So these are things that they would be making ongoing investment into what will eventually, hopefully, be a city-owned property. So I wanted to kind of speak to both that and the rooftop at the Boys and Girls Club. And then the last thing I wanted to mention that's associated with the middle school, because a lot of these things kind of bring a calmness to our urban renewal plan in that area, and so I just want to advocate for that for just a moment, is that we're repurposing the band wing as an entrepreneur center. And so right now, tentatively, we've named it the Entrepreneurs of Morgan County, and there could be a little bit of funding that could go toward that. Of course, I have a number in mind, but I'm not going to be competitive against our sweet nonprofits that are here today. I just want to just kind of pitch that to you as an opportunity for that. As y'all were talking this morning, one of the things that came to mind is I know that ideally we would want computers in our children's homes, and while that might be the highest and best form of educating them, it might not be the most ideal. There are more than a couple rooms that could be repurposed as an extended computer lab, or perhaps working with the Boys and Girls Club, making sure that they have access to that. So we've got tons of square footage for repurposing over there. But again, remember that when we started the middle school project, working with the Downtown Development Authority, that general fund dollars are not supposed to be spent on it. Now, we've fronted some, but they'll be reimbursed. So I want to advocate that if it's possible, if a portion of the budget could be dedicated to improving the community development and the economic development components of the middle school, that's a long-term conversion of the campus that we're proud to have a private college on, and we're proud to have our Boys and Girls Club on. This would not go to specifically to the Boys and Girls Club's building, because there's usually, and I caution you on that, not that you shouldn't look at helping Boys and Girls Club out, don't take it that way, but you can't match, sometimes there's prohibitions about matching federal dollars with federal dollars, so look at funding programmatic stuff instead of construction stuff is better. But the rooftop on the old building is not part of their grant, so you can do that if you so saw fit. Of course, I'm not going to talk about all the city pieces. The other nonprofit I wanted to mention is not in the room is Historic Madison Morgan Foundation. and they're the ones who did our bicentennial book. They're the ones who fundraised for the depot. David Land's not here. Of course, we all know he's busy taking care of Shandon and bringing her back up to speed in Florida. But his budget for completing the exterior of the depot, you know, they've raised $250,000. It would take $50,000 to finish the outside. So I would be remiss and get a phone call from him if I did not put that on the table, as long as you're looking at nonprofits.
50,000?
Yes, sir. And I'm not saying that couldn't be squeezed. That's his budget, not mine. The other thing I wanted to talk briefly about is if we're approving any form of improvements at the middle school, the toilet facilities that are currently being used by the community food bank, they're not up to code. And that facility's doing good work, and I just know that that building has some issues. Actually, it has lots of issues. It has several issues, but the ones that could be parsed off so that it might have some long-term longevity, you might look at that. And then the last thing I wanted to speak to are economic development things. Okay, so this morning we've talked mostly about community development things. So I've done some programmatic looking at how cities are utilizing these recovery and stimulus funds. By and large, the budgets are 75-25 toward economic development items, typically run through either their EDAs or their DDAs. So I just want to state on behalf of the Downtown Development Authority that they stand prepared to help you distribute and funnel funds as you've seen, as you deem necessary, whatever programmatics that you want to accomplish. I submitted to the mayor a typical program that Brunswick has already put together for the distribution of small business loans, as well as small business grants. Again, it's recovery money, so you're looking at trying to job create, job retain, business expansion, and business startups. And so Brunswick, the money is directed by, in terms of either loans or grants, by the DDA or the EDA, depending on if it's in downtown or if it's in the industrial area. So that those funds are set aside, because if they're not spending it on capital improvements for the city, like buying the downtown lights that were recommended in our study. There's your wheel, Karen. If it's not spent on a capital project, programmatically it typically runs through one of the authorities. So I just want to state that if you do want to run such programs, recovery programs that are based on small business creation, job creation, retention, or business expansion, that the DDA could certainly model what other cities are doing and put together a program for you if you're interested in that. But I will not apply budget numbers to that. Is that, anybody have any questions for me? But that's kind of my economic development talk this morning.
The only thing I would ask you to do, Monica, I would ask that you and Karen get together and we ask the other organizations to come up with the budget plan for us.
Okay, I can do that.
Present to us all this money, and we'll see what we can do, okay?
Sounds great.
Thank you so much. So finally, Mr. Manager, back to you. What do you see for our city?
Mr. Mayor, you asking me to follow Monica, and you ask her to put a budget together with DDA to spend money. And how can I follow that? I really, and I'm just kidding, I'm thinking that there are lots of good initiatives. I am here to help put some of these things together. In our discussions, we talked about investing these funds, not covering holes in a budget or not doing things that we otherwise may not do with a budget to just make to do short-term fixes. These are all good long-term investments. We've heard great ideas this morning. I'm a decent idea person, but there are better idea people in the room than me. So I'm here to help spend the money in the right way, the legal way, the appropriate way. Staff is here to do that. We have plenty of opportunities. We've already set a good foundation. Just listening to all these super organizations that doing what they're doing, it just shines a brilliant light on what Madison, Morgan County is all about. So maybe we can help everybody in some way, hopefully.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I just appreciate citizens coming in, just want to express their opinion to us, to let us know that there is a need in our community. And I think collaboratively, we can all work together and continue to make our community a better place in which to live. We keep saying that we are one Morgan. And what better way to say we are one Morgan than spending our money together, collaborative. And finally, I see Howard in the room. Howard is heavily involved with Habitat.
Yes.
Funds can be used for affordable homes. Now, Howard didn't say anything about Habitat this morning, but maybe he will, you know. We know Habitat is certainly has made a difference to a lot of families in our community here. And we appreciate what Habitat do for our community, making life better for families in our community. And I'm sure at some point in time, Howard, you might just want to say something to us. You could say something to us this morning if you feel like it.
Well, I'll be happy to speak for Habitat just a minute.
Just tell us who you are and who you represent.
I was going to let these other folks there's a lot of good ideas. The biggest problem that Habitat has is a constant struggle for finding suitable places to build in Madison, and Monica's been very helpful. And luckily, during this COVID period, lumber prices have just been out of sight. So we weren't able to build because we didn't want to have volunteers in close spaces during the COVID period. And thank goodness we didn't start a new house. We're getting ready to purchase a lot just as soon as it becomes available and get started. We're down to, at this point, being able to, because of our funding and mortgage, we use the mortgage money we get in to fund the next houses, and then we do some fundraising. But it's a constant battle for us we could build 2 houses a year easily, but we have only funding for one. It's, you know, the other issue that sort of, as I listen, there's some real need to have some coordination amongst all of us that are working. I'm on the community garden board, and we're working to get that off. We're working with the University of Georgia Landscape Department, and they're putting together the landscape plans and so on. But there's a lot of synergy about good things happening for the community. And if there was any way that part of whatever you all are thinking about doing, if there's some way to coordinate better all of our efforts, it would be well spent. Because sometimes we're asking the same agencies for funding, we're asking the same community members to help with various things, whether it's Boys and Girls Club or Habitat or whatever, and you're asking the same people all the time. And sometimes if we could get a little bit more coordinated effort in terms of what we're trying to do together, and we could sort of show how some of these things fit together, I think we'd be better off for funding agencies and so on, to see that we're not just building an isolated house here and a community garden over there, addition on the Boys and Girls Club. Some way we need to sort of, I know Monica has a good view of a lot of things, but I mean, we have an opportunity, I think, as funds are now available and are becoming available, to maximize whatever we have to get the biggest bang for the buck. And Habitat, I think, would welcome being part of that, or having, you know, if there's any way that part of the funding related to community garden and Habitat and some of these other smaller issues, get some of those funds to help, you know, with whatever it might be, it would be very helpful. A lot of these projects are fairly, you know, cost involved when you start renovating buildings and doing stuff. And those things need to be done, and it's a good investment in the community, but also don't forget the smaller entities.
Right. And I appreciate you saying that, Howard, because certainly if there's a landscape group going to come into town from the University of Georgia, if it's done through by Downtown Development Authority, it would make sense to make connection with Habitat for Humanity, the Boys and Girls Club who's going to landscape that building, the garden club, and that way they're here, you can save money instead of having to come this time, come back again, next time. So I think the group itself has to get on one accord, you know, and let's work together on this, and we can all save money.
We're trying, yeah, we're trying.
Ira, if I could ask you, you said you have the capability, I assume that means manpower, to do 2 homes a year, but funding only allows 1. What is the dollar amount to get that second house per year?
Well, you know, it used to be $45,000, then it was 60, and now I think it's going to be closer to $80,000 or $90,000 until if the price of lumber ever comes down. It's getting more and more tenuous because our mortgages are fixed. So when they start paying, you know, that they're paying $300 a month, we're still only going to get $300 a month, but the cost of housing is going up. Right. So it's going to be more and more difficult for us to fund a house. I mean, that's just that's what it's going to be. Now, hopefully, they're going to moderate some, but you know, I'm thinking it's going to cost us 25% more to build a house than it did. But I would say it's going to cost us $85,000 probably to build a house that's going to be put on the market for $130 or something on the tax rules. Which, you know, in today's world, an $85,000 3-bedroom house built with really good insulation and utility costs are down, it's a great thing for the family. And when they're getting a low interest loan, very small interest on it, it's about the best thing for working families that there is. But if it's just a funding issue. A lot of people think we get money from Habitat. The only thing we get from the parent organization is their partnership with, you know, we can get a reduced price on certain things. Velspar provides, you know, paint at a reduced price and so on. But those donated materials really amount to less than 5% of our, you know, whatever. I mean, so it is, we're paying full price. You know, we're hiring journeyman electricians and, you know, plumbers, HVAC people are all licensed, you know, so they'll give us their sort of brother-in-law's price, but I mean, it's not a big reduction. So, and grading and gravel and, you know, everything that you concrete, everything you do. I mean, rebar's $20 for a 20-foot piece. Used to be like $5 for a piece of rebar 20 feet long. So I was looking at the plans for the next house and figuring the amount of rebar and stuff, you know, and it's just like I thought, well, that used to be, I could do that for $180. Now it's going to be $450 just to put in some rebar around. So it's an issue, but we have a good core of volunteers, and we have a great board. So we need to get started. I mean, we've got waiting lists for people. And the problem we've had is that our people that are applying, we've had to say to some of them, your salary now has out-qualified you, which is great because they've got good jobs. And we also, though, we used to have people that didn't qualify because they didn't have good enough jobs. Now we have people applying that will have the money to pay for the mortgages. And they're young working families. And they need to be living in Madison, not in Putnam and driving here.
Yes. Okay. Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir, sure.
Thank you, Hiram. I think your suggestion of consolidating and using synergy for all of these groups in this room is an excellent idea. And it would be great if you had a a separate group that maybe met and discussed the needs that we have here. I'm not real optimistic about lumber costs coming down, having been in the business 35 years. Once they go up, they're not going to come down. We're seeing inflation. Yes, those people now are not qualified because they make too much money, but the cost of building a house is going up, and pretty soon, they'll be eligible.
No, I know.
They should be
The
eligible.
others are going to be costed out.
And I think it's a situation that we really, as a community, need to come together to address, because one of the big things we have employers here that want people to come here and work, but they can't find a place to live. And so your suggestion is very good. And I really would like to see that synergism coming from the 501s. I think that would be fantastic. Thank you for the suggestion.
Thank you, Howard.
Thank you.
And are there any more comments from the public this morning? And I just have one final pet peeve. We have 2 community food banks here, and both of these food banks feed a lot of families on weekends. And I would love to see some funds set aside for both of these food banks. We have I see 2 great volunteers here every Saturday morning. One of new council member who will be coming on board in January, and David Burbach, who is there every Saturday morning. And they could tell you the need that's in this community with our families. So I would certainly love to see money set aside for these families. And I would ask, our council would probably be getting with our city manager and talk about infrastructure in our city and how this money can be spent, Mr. Manager, and include that, so we'll all know where we're going with this money.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I second you on the food banks. I think the service that's been done for this community during the COVID by both our food banks, and it has been valuable. I would love to see us work some way that way. I'd also love to see if we could approach the county, because they could make some contributions to these organizations because it's not only supporting the residents in the city of Madison, it's supporting residents in Morgan County. So maybe we can contact the county and see if we can't also get something from them.
Right. It's not a city thing,
it's a One Morgan thing.
One Morgan thing.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Sure.
I also would like, I have an organization called Spread Love Ministries. My organization helps with mental health. I advocate on behalf of mental health, domestic violence, substance abuse, and career development for our city. So I ask you guys to also put me, and we'll put my organization in with the rest of these organizations. I am now applying to be a 501(c)(3). It's very personal for me. In the middle of a pandemic, we've got so many people that are fighting mental health issues. And because we're home now, over the last year or so, we've been home. So you can see child abuse, and you can also see substance abuse and mental health. Helping with career development also. I have partnered with GMC. We have a class called Success 101, which will give you an assessment to see exactly where you're headed. What would you like to be in this life? What would you like to do? It talks about time management. It talks about money management, which we really need. We need a lot in budgets. With Hiram, he was talking about housing. Once these young families get into their homes, they need to know how to budget, and they need to know the upkeep of their homes. So that's Success 101, where I partnered with GMC. I have a couple of more partnerships that I'm doing that are coming up. Things are coming up. I offered Healing Our Community, and it talked about mental health, and we talked about domestic violence and substance abuse with our leaders in the city and the county. And we also talked to a couple of pastors, because it's not a black and white issue. It's not a religion issue. It's a people issue. And if we're One Morgan, we need to go at everything from every angle to take care of each other. So you guys spread love down. That's coming from being a citizen and not being a council person. And thank you.
What was the name of that organization again?
Spread Love Ministries of Georgia.
Do you know if the county, I thought, do they have a building for abuse, child abuse, or family abuse? I thought I read in the paper where
They were getting ready to get one.
ready to get one.
Yes, sir.
Will it be the connection between you and them?
I have not met with them. I definitely have been talking to GMC for just an office, just a space for me to meet. I have not met with the county about the building that they have, but I would definitely talk if anybody has anything else they would like to offer. Spread Love will be glad to accept it. We do have a board. Do have a board.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else from the public? If not, thank you so much for attending our session this morning, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.